As a child, I think I had it pretty good. I was in a loving family. I was a happy child. I had lots of great experiences, good friends. I did great in school. I really had, in my mind, no need for anything that smacked of religion. In fact, what I saw of religion, I just thought was pretty offensive. I thought it was people who maybe like were emotionally crippled or didn't like think, maybe they just weren't very intelligent. Maybe they, believed some myth that they were taught and never thought to question it. So I had no need of religion, and I basically didn't think very much of people who had need of religion.
This scientist is so well spoken, but more than that, she is intellectually honest, meaning that she isn't so full of herself that she admits there are things she doesn't know. So many scientists get on their high horse and proclaim to know things that they don't really know, and thereby show their ignorance.
As I was growing up, I met some people who I thought were pretty smart and interesting. They seemed to really have their lives together. I thought I had my life together too, but and they were also religious. And in fact, they were Christians who thought that the question of Christianity was also an intellectual one as well as one of the heart. And they kept inviting me to church. I never wanted to go to church. I thought, I don't want to wear the clothes people wore to church. I actually feigned stomach aches on Sundays for about 6 weeks before they stopped inviting me and realized that I didn't really want to go to church. But then they said to me that it doesn't matter so much whether you go to church or not. What matters is what you believe. Have you ever read the Bible? And I said, no. I just believed the Bible was wrong without having read it. And it occurred to me that that was actually kind of an inconsistent intellectual position, right? To think that I was so well educated and knew about the Bible, but I actually hadn't read it. So I figured I could fix that, so I got a Bible and decided I would read through the Bible in a year, one of those Bibles with the little check marks in it, so you could check off the 4 books a day you read or whatever. And so I started reading the Bible, and I realized as I was reading it, actually I started in Proverbs, that there was incredible wisdom in there. And I, who thought, religious people were so stupid, had to acknowledge that there was a lot for me to learn from what I was reading there.
Our God is great. On Christ the solid rock I stand. All other ground is sinking sand. I have an anchor that keeps the soul steadfast and sure while the billows roll fastened to the rock which cannot fail, grounded firmly and deep in the Savior's love, Jesus Christ.
So I read on, and I actually wound up rereading the Bible every year for about 10 years, actually. And during the course of that reading, because each time I read, I got something that I'd missed the time before, I think there was a gradual change taking place in me. Certainly, I realized right away that my intellectual doubts were largely based on, ironically, on myths of society. Sometimes people accuse religious people of believing in myths. I think maybe the greater myth is in our society that, religion is not based on anything solid. And what I was finding was what was in the Bible was actually based on a lot of solid historical events and a lot of incredibly brilliant and wise instruction and knowledge and experience that I certainly couldn't dismiss as non-intellectual or as non-relevant to my life.
Science deals with the natural world. Spirituality deals with the material world as well as the non-material and the transcendental.
So, I've heard you speak about your journey in finding faith.
Sure.
And how you discovered some wisdoms about life and beyond from reading the Bible. Mm-hmm. And I've also heard you say that you said scientists too often assume that nothing exists beyond what can be currently measured.
Mm-hmm. Materialism
and
right? Scientism. Yeah.
So in some sense, this assumption enables the near-term scientific method, assuming that we can uncover the mysteries of this world by the mechanisms of measurement that we currently have. But we easily forget that we've made this assumption. Right. So what do you think we miss out on by making that assumption? That
It's fine to limit the scientific method to things we can measure and reason about and reproduce. That's fine. I think we have to recognize that sometimes we scientists also believe in things that happen historically. You know, like I believe the Holocaust happened. I can't prove events from past history scientifically. You prove them with historical evidence, right? With the impact they had on people, with eyewitness testimony and things like that. So a good thinker recognizes that science is one of many ways to get knowledge. It's not the only way.
Some scientists, such as Richard Dawkins, claim there is nothing but the material world. However, other scientists are more open to the idea that reality might be more than just the material world. Science and faith go hand in hand. The Creator is outside of time, space, and matter, and yet He created it and sent His Son to save it. Jesus Christ.
And there's been some really bad philosophy and bad thinking recently. You can call it scientism, where people say science is the only way to get to truth. And it's not. It just isn't. There are other ways that work also, like knowledge of love with someone. You don't prove your love through science, right? So history, philosophy, love, a lot of other things in life show us that there's more ways to gain knowledge and truth, if you're willing to believe there is such a thing, and I believe there is, than science. I am a scientist, however, and in my science, I do limit my science to the things that the scientific method can do. But I recognize that it's myopic to say that that's all there is.
right, there's, just like you listed, there's all the why questions, and really we know, if we're being honest with ourselves, the percent of what we really know is basically zero relative to the full mystery of the
That's measure theory, the set of measure zero. If I have a finite amount of knowledge, which I do.
So you said that you believe in truth. So let me ask that old question. What do you think this thing is all about?
I think there's a grand adventure, and I think this life is a part of it. I think there's a lot more to it than meets the eye and the heart and the mind and the soul here. I think we see but through a glass dimly in this life. We see only a part of all there is to know.
Amazing insight that nobody really mentions. Being an expert in one field does not make you an expert in others. The scientific method is only applicable to a limited set of life problems. Then it takes wisdom to know what tools to use to solve other problems. For instance, your eyes are the ultimate proof of God. Look around. What do you see? This woman is a hero to publicly profess her faith in so many dens of lions. May her outreach touch many lost.
If people haven't read the Bible, they should, if they consider themselves educated. And you could read Proverbs and find tremendous wisdom in there that cannot be scientifically proven, but when you read it, there's something in you, like a musician knows when the instrument's played right and it's beautiful. There's something in you that comes alive and knows that there's a truth there, that it's like your strings are being plucked by the master instead of by me, right? Playing when I pluck it, but probably when you play, it sounds spectacular, right? And when you encounter those truths, there's something in you that sings and knows that there is more than what I can prove mathematically or program a computer to do.
In the movie Contact, there is a scene where one of the main characters asks another character by the name Jodie, "Do you love your father?" She says, "Yes," and he responds with, "Prove it." This is a testament that there are things you can prove scientifically. and you have to believe that they are true. I think Dr. Picard, as in Captain Picard's Star Trek, is a very courageous woman to admit she believes in truth beyond science.
Don't get me wrong, the math is gorgeous. The computer programming can be brilliant. It's inspiring, right? We want to do more. None of this squashes my desire to do science or to get knowledge through science. I'm not dissing the science at all. I grow even more in awe of what the science can do because I'm more in awe of all there is we don't know. And really at the heart of science, you have to have a belief that there's truth, that there's something greater to be discovered. And some scientists may not want to use the faith word, but it's faith that drives us to do science. It's faith that there is truth, that there's something to know that we don't know, that it's worth knowing, that it's worth working hard, and that there is meaning, that there is such a thing as meaning.
Ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be opened to you. For everyone who asks receives, and everyone who seeks finds, and the one who knocks the door will be opened. The idea that Jesus is a loving God is a cornerstone of Christian belief, emphasizing his divine nature, compassion, profound care for humanity. This concept is woven throughout the New Testament and forms the basis of many theological teachings and devotional practices. Christians believe that Jesus, as God, took on human form to live among people. The Word became flesh and dwelt amongst us. This act demonstrates his love by bridging the gap between divinity and humanity. By experiencing human life, including sufferings and temptations, Jesus shows an intimate understanding of human struggles, which deepens his loving connection to his followers, basically to everybody. Jesus' love serves as a model for Christians, inspiring acts of kindness, forgiveness, and charity. The church often describes its mission as a continual of his loving work in the world. Jesus' teachings about love have influenced countless humanitarian efforts, encouraging care for the sick, the hungry, and the oppressed. What makes Jesus' love particularly profound is its inclusiveness and reach. It's not limited by culture, status, or history, whether through the parables of Good Samaritan or the prodigal son. His message underscores that no one is beyond the reach of his love.